obviously going to be used because if your office does not have same-day crowns, like CEREC or one of those type of things, the tooth is gonna be prepped. You can't let the patient leave the office with that prepped tooth. They'd be fine while they're anesthetized, but once that Novocaine wore off, if the tooth was not root canal, they would have sensitivity. Also, we have underlying dentin exposed, so what would happen, or what could happen? What's gonna happen if we start to get decay in that dentin? It's gonna happen faster and spread faster. So that temporary crown is going to act to protect the gingiva and the tooth and keep everything the way we need it while that crown is being fabricated in the lab, okay? Thank you. Thank you. If your office does same-day crowns, you don't make temporaries, okay? You don't have to worry about it. So like that Norwood office, they do same-day crowns there, so you're probably not making a whole lot of temporaries there. I mean, even offices that do same-day, sometimes there are cases that they need to send off to the lab, so you still might be doing it with it. We got an email last Friday from a student from last year that did not love making crowns, did not love taking impressions, and she said she's doing those two things at least 4 times a day now, and she loves it. So she's making a ton of temporaries, loves making temporaries. So we're going to teach you to make temporaries 3 different ways, because there are different ways they can be made, and every office has a way that they typically will do them. Also, you're going to end up turning in 4 crowns. So you're going to have to do one of each of these 3 ways that we're going to talk about today, and then you're going to pick your 4th crown of your choosing, whichever method you want to do a second one of. Okay? Because you're going to love some of the methods and you're going to hate some of the methods. So you get to pick that 4th crown. These will not be due next week because we don't want you to rush through them. We want you to take your time, really understand what you're doing, and try and produce nice temporaries. So these will be due within the next couple weeks. We'll let you know, but they won't be due next week, so don't rush, okay? Today, our hope is that you can get through 1 crown in its entirety. Don't start 4 crowns today, okay? So start 1, you're gonna pick 1 method, start that crown. You're gonna get that all the way to doing the finishing and everything. So we should have 1 crown hopefully done by the end of the day today, okay? We need to get them coin envelopes too, I just thought of that. So they can keep them in there. All right, one of the really important things I want to mention before we get started, for some of these methods, you're going to be using your Typonot, okay? For some of them, mainly the acrylic, you're going to be using the hard tissue Typonot, okay? You need to make sure that you write on your grading sheet and on your papers that you're going to be working on what Typonot you use, okay? Obviously, when you use this one, you should be using your number, so that's easy to know. But when you're using these hard Typonots, these boxes are numbered. So this is 1, 2, and then when I look inside here, where did 1 go? The axle was missing. They're numbered also. So you need to make sure that you notate that, because your crown won't fit on another model. It might fit on another model, okay? So make sure we know which one you used. Questions so far? Okay, let's have some fun. Did most of you view the pear deck fixed? All right. What's that?
I'm saying yeah, I started it.
Okay, I haven't taken a look yet today. So your directions, the first one that we're going to do is using a stent. So we talked about a stent the other day, right, in the oral surgery, and I said that a stents are sometimes used as like a guide so that you know where the implants are going to be placed. We can use stents also for making temporary crowns. How would we come upon making a stent? What things would have already happened? What's the first thing that would have happened? Alginate impression, right, a preliminary impression. Pour that up. And this is going to be like vacuum form material, right? It's going to be like a vacuum form material, so you use a vacuum former, and now you've created your stent. Okay? So that's what would have happened before, how we arrive at this, and then they just cut off the excess, so that's all we need for that quadrant. Okay? So you would always try that in first. Okay? And they would want to make the stent before the dentist prepped the tooth, right? So you'd be taking that preliminary impression before the dentist prepped. Okay? So you can see that that stent will fit right over there, and that's going to help us to make that crown. Okay? So the stents are right in here. It says clear stents, lower left. Okay, these are reusable, so please do not throw them out.
They'll fit on every,
They'll fit all of this type of typodont. Yep, okay? Just try it and make sure you have a good fit first, okay? All right, so we confirmed that there is a prep tooth. So we went, I think Mrs. Yeoman said that all of yours should have a prep tooth in the lower left quadrant. If it doesn't, let us know, we'll swap one out, but they should. And I swapped out so that all of these have prep teeth this morning also, okay? So you're gonna use a clear vacuum form stent. We have that right here. This was made prior to the tooth being prepped. We have our Vaseline. So you're going to put some Vaseline on the prep tooth. So you want to put the Vaseline on just a little bit on the prep tooth, and then I would put it on the contacts of those adjacent teeth, because sometimes it will get stuck in there a little bit, depending if you overfill it, okay? And then you're gonna add the creamy crown and bridge material into the stent area of the tooth, which is prepped, okay? This material is a cold cure. So does that mean I'm gonna need a curing light? No. Okay, so we're not gonna need a curing light for this. This gun, it works just like when we did the bite registration, same type of thing, okay? So you're going to take off this tip. You're going to take off this tip. There you go. And make sure you save that, because we're going to need to put that back on. And we're going to put on the extruder gun tip. Make sure you turn it, because if you don't turn it and you go to squeeze, the material's going to go everywhere. So make sure you turn it and give it a little tug so that you know it's secure. And you can come up here if you want to come up closer, so you're not like in the nosebleed seats back there. These are definitely so much smaller. Like they're like schmediums. All right, so we're going to squeeze to get our material into the tip. I'm going to grab my clear stent, so it tells you to add the creamy crown and bridge material into the stent, the area that's prepped. So I'm going to look, again, confirm. It is my second molar that I'm doing, so I'm going to fill that second molar.
so you're filling it enough to cover the mold of that tooth?
Yep. Okay. So you just want to fill that up. Make sure you have enough, like, for the contacts. And then I'm going to put it, I'll go backwards here. I'm going to put it on the model. And just gently, you can have your patient bite down.
There's not like you know how before you have to stand in the back or whatever.
No, you'd be doing this in front of the patient. You'd seat it from the front. Because it's a mandible. So if I was doing the maxilla, I would probably have to stand like side. Otherwise, it'd be kind of awkward to try and get it in. Those little bolts in here, keep them shut. All right, so we're gonna let that set. Okay, I'm gonna keep my patient. You have your patient gently biting down on that, and that material is going to cold cure. Do you think it's gonna take a little bit longer in here? Yep, you know it's gonna, because there's not a steamy 98.6 that our mouse would be, so it's definitely gonna take a little bit longer in here. Okay.
Does it take longer than alternate?
Can take a little while. So with these types of materials, would you mind just holding that for me, Delilah, so I can think it? With these types of materials, they usually come either chemical cure, cold cure, or light cure. So some of them you would put a curing light to that.
With
Okay.
their mouth open or like closed like that?
You could have them close and go for the buccal, and then you could have them open and hit from the occlusal portion and lingual portion. So I want to take this tip off, so I'm going to take that off and get this one back on. Remembering your infection control.
So we have a plastic thing over that? A plastic?
You would put a barrier, yeah, we're not gonna have you put one on here, but if you were doing this on a patient, you'd have a barrier, yep. So you would do it just like we did before, you know how you had it barriered? You had, put your hand underneath, twisted this off and let it fall? Absolutely,
Even if you didn't go directly in the mouth?
yeah. Yeah, because your claws can still be contaminated. I wonder if I should do the next one while that one's setting. Let's see. No, it's good, it's ready. So, what I did is just remove the stent. Okay, so stent's been removed. Now with a hemostat or your fingers, you're gonna wiggle to get that crown out. I'm probably going to need a hemostat. Thank you. So you're going to gently wiggle that off. You don't want to squeeze too hard because you could crack it or break it. Okay. Now, you think this is what we're gonna cement in there?
No.
No. We got a whole lot of excess flash that we want to get rid of. Okay? Yes.
What does it feel like?
What does it
Is
feel
it
like?
like gel-like? Is it solid?
What does it feel like?
Oh, I pictured it to be like squishy.
No.
Or something.
When you look on the inside, you can see the margin. Okay? So now you're going to want a pencil. Okay? There's a direct contact point on the mesial and on the distal, and you don't want to interfere with those. Okay? So when you are doing your trimming, your finishing of these, right, with the lab engine, you don't want to trim away that contact, because what's going to happen if you do?
It's not gonna fit. Hey, you won't be able to use it. It's not gonna fit.
What?
It's not gonna fit, you won't be able to use it.
Well, you're going to have an open contact, right?
Oh,
So they would get food impacted in there. So you want, remember we talked earlier in dental science about like over-contoured, under-contoured teeth, okay? You don't want this to be under-contoured, and if you trim away that contact point, you're gonna get food and plaque and everything's gonna sit in between there, okay? It can damage the gingiva. So that direct contact point on the mesial and on the distal, you wanna mark with your pencil so that you know you don't touch those, okay? Now this excess flash here, we need to get rid of that, okay? This excess flash here, we're gonna get rid of that. This here, we're gonna get rid of that.
Can I see the contact points you were talking about?
Yeah. See on the mesial and the distal?
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay? So this flash, that excess, that we're going to trim away, but you don't want to hit that mesial or distal wall. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? All right, because that would change the shape of that tube. All right. So we now remove the stent with the hemostat our fingers. I mark the margins and contact points. So now we're gonna finish and polish this with a dust collector or polishing suction, and then we're gonna check it on our model. Oh, we're gonna need, this is Santos. Could you please get us some articulating forceps and articulating paper, please?
I have paper.
We got forceps? Oh, we got paper. We just need articulating forceps. Oh, this is what I wanted. I'm not playing with a full deck today. Are we plugged in over there? Yes. Remember to always check these first so it doesn't spark. Oh, we're not plugged in there. So you put your piece of paper, right, over the tray. Thank you. You're gonna turn the light on, and you're gonna turn your vent on, okay? I'm gonna leave the vent off right now when I'm doing this, because if I turn that vent on, you're not gonna hear me, even if I yell, it's gonna be. All right, so I'm going to take my crown.
I'm not putting on touch screen.
Yeah, but it's a good idea, I would recommend it. I mean, we got some flash, it could go flying. I'm gonna be in here, but you never know.
Oh, it is hard, you can use it.
Yeah.
Like,
So you're going to do what you've done before, right, with your custom trays. Remember, we've done this before, that you can always add more. And you can always take more away, but is it as easy to add it back? No, so go a little bit at a time. I'm gonna turn this, I'm gonna take this burr out, and I'm gonna use one of these tapered burrs. Remember, tighten it, always give it a pull before you turn it back on.
would the setting be on like 1 or 2, not doing it?
I would go nice and low. Like I said, you can always increase it. Maybe a little funky here. You can always increase it. But once you take the material away, sometimes you have to start all over with the crown. You don't trust me.
No, I just couldn't.
There you go. Sure, I believe you.
I took it off.
Remember that you're holding this like you're peeling a potato, okay?
I'm just gonna move the type
You can come around back here if you want. I actually might switch back to that pineapple to start. I got a lot of excess there.
I'm gonna say using that one, you're gonna have a long way to go.
Yeah. It'll take a little longer than I want this demo to go on. I'm gonna get through all 3. Time we got.
20.
Oh my goodness, time flies.
Because it's Friday. I know, yesterday was.
Right, so you might not get through a full crown today, but at least if you can get one started today, it'll be good. But I'm gonna demonstrate all the methods to you today, and then we'll upload them. This stent one is probably gonna be your favorite. This is usually the one that students will opt to do their 4th one.
Do the other ones require more steps, or is it like?
Definitely more of an artistic eye.
Oh, so you don't have to like mold basically.
I mean, like, because this is pretty much done for you, right? This is like a model.
You do that when you're
Sorry, Jamie, this is like watching water boil. So you can try and just like break some of it off, but you want to be careful. So you've got that came off in the chunk. That's what I wanted to happen. But I'm a little nervous to do that down here because I don't want it to crack.
You're gonna take off the whole, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yep, so I'm gonna take, we want it to look like a crown, like a nice little small tooth.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Before you started doing that, you had all that excess.
Yep.
Would you be able to like, I don't know,
Have less
use like certain lab scissors to see if you had like enough excess, so you're not like sitting there the whole time?
Or it's too harsh.
Yeah, or I feel like it'd be like not thick enough that you would be able to break like a little bit off with scissors. If
You
had enough
can,
excess.
but see, you just wanna be like, see how I just did that?
Oh yeah.
But you just wanna be careful that it doesn't chip into your crown.
It feels like a Lego.
Like a Lego.
Yeah, like when I see them.
It kind of, yeah.
When it dropped, it sounded like it was like this, but I was waking up again, oh my goodness.
The other way that some offices will do this same type of thing, like the stent way, is to use the alginate impression that you took as the primary preliminary impression, and they'll use that and put that back in the patient's mouth sometimes. Or they'll do that with a quadrant tray. You know what a quadrant tray is, right? So when you're doing this in the office, in the real world, this patient's obviously waiting to get this crown, so you're now in the back, you're in the lab, and you're getting this ready for them.
How long do you typically let a patient take that?
I don't know, it's probably like a half hour or so, probably give or take.
Isn't that little piece like, a half moon that we can use this?
Is
Or
what?
is that unreasonable? Maybe it's the bottom.
I didn't hear what you said.
Like, you know how, you were like, so, the food wouldn't get in or like anything, this stuff? It looked like it was like, it is right, or it's under part. It's like the, I'm sorry, it's like the, like a half moon, it looks like, or is that like the under?
So this is the inside, is that what you mean, like the margin?
And
So
then
that's
you
like the
put it to
subgingival margin.
the left side, it's like, I think it might be this one. I don't get it.
Are you talking about that like extra piece that's kind of hanging out there on the side? That's a little extra. That's going to be the mesial or distal portion there.
Now, as you're doing this, if you think you have it to a pretty decent spot or you're not really sure, you can try it in, right? So you take your model, so you would clean and disinfect this, right, before you put it in the patient's mouth. And I can go and I can try it in my patient's mouth. Okay? So I can look at it. Now, when I look at it, can you see how those contacts, especially in the distal, is completely filled in? So I know that I need to do more there, because can you see you should have that triangular space, right, like that embrasure space? So can you see that I don't have any of that there? I have no triangular open there. So that means I need to contour that crown a little bit more, like that natural shape of the tooth. So I need to take a little bit more off of the distal there.
And on the other side too, on the lingual, cause it's like.
Yeah, on the lingual, definitely. But if you're not sure, try it in, okay, and see what it looks like. Remember, the whole goal is to get this crown to look like the natural tooth, okay? That's what you're aiming for.
Would you contour it outwards or in?
Would I what?
Contour it like outwards or would you contour it inwards?
Not sure what you mean.
So, will you scoop out or will you scoop in when you're trying to contour it to get that triangular?
I'm gonna go like back and forth like that. So it's not like, you mean like when you were doing the
So then
trays and I would say go away? Yeah. No, so it's not